Father, I know you can hear me. Please respond. The door to Kinzo's study was being violently, harshly beaten against over and over again like a percussion instrument. The yells coming from the other side belonged to Kraus, Rudolph, and sometimes Eva. It was the siblings who were trying to intrude upon Kinzo's study to question him about the truth behind that mysterious letter. Kinzo was eating. An elegant tablecloth was set over the desk, and the fabulous dinner that had adorned the table down in the dining hall was reproduced here. Kinzo continued his meal in silence. Shannon, taking away an empty plate, looked uncomfortably between the door being pounded on and Kinzo's face. Everyone is calling for you, but what should I do? Leave them. God and my meals both hold silence as a virtue. Should I silence them? There's no need. It does not even reach my ears. Kinzo enjoyed his food, apparently indifferent. Genji quietly lowered his head, took a single step back. As he did, Kanon, who stood reserved like a shadow behind and to the side of Genji, opened his mouth. Maria-sama apparently received a letter from Beatrice-sama, so I imagine they want to test its authenticity. Ha! Has she started already then? Come. Thank you so much, Pixie. I can't wait to see you at ShushCon too.
Hey Evelyn Theory, guess what day it is? Subday. Woo woo. Much love. Can't wait for ShushCon. Laughing face, Lynn, salt.
Thank you, Pixie. Come, Beatrice. I have no shortage of coins to be wagered. Shall we enjoy this night to the fullest? I don't think I'll lose. Your smile will be mine for all eternity. If I could see it one more time, I wouldn't regret losing my wealth, my honor, or even my life. Well then, the roulette has begun to spin. Which pocket will the ball fall into? Moi? Rouge? Or a house takes all? Come, you may begin, Beatrice. I'll show you the power of miracles once more. I mean, a lot of people enjoy making the text-to-speech say stuff, Pixie. It's interesting. Back. Like his beard. Fair enough. Strange letter that the witch had entrusted to Maria wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Maria was repeatedly barraged with questions by Aunt Rosa and the other parents. Became increasingly ill-tempered when they refused to believe her. If we kids tried to butt in, they'd probably ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up, firing back and forth about the gold and the distribution of assets and completely forgetting that we were there. I'd already guessed they'd been talking like this in the shadows, but I hadn't thought they'd be so blunt. It gave all of us kids a considerable shock. From what we could overhear, all the parents wanted more money as soon as possible. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found. About advance payments in cash. So despicable I could hardly bear to watch, even though one of them was my father. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats without being asked to and went to hang out somewhere well away from our parents. I get it. Now I totally see why grandfather hates coming down from meals. So disillusioned with our parents right now. All that about money and inheritance. How can they act like that right out in the open? Well, I'm already completely disillusioned with my old bastard. There's no way I could think any worse of him. Eh. That's exactly the same for me. Still, that freaking shocked me. Shocked me to the core. Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. The depths of Jessica's shock made that clear. You're all minors being supported by your parents, so you might not understand. But getting money is neither a simple nor a pretty thing. I won't try to force you to understand right now, since you're still kids. But even so, I want you to realize that your parents are just doing their best in their own way. Oh great. George Hanaki's gotten all mature. George Nissan, I know you're working hard as a fully fledged member of society. Does that mean you turn into a shameless greedy vulture like our parents whenever you start talking about money and assets? Or only for my own benefit? Then no, I wouldn't want to do that. However, when your family and your employees, your subordinates, and their families are all counting on you, there are some times when you must fight. I hate that kind of fight. That back and forth about grandfather's inheritance just makes me want to puke. Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear. Let's stop talking about this. All this about grandfather's hidden gold, property, and inheritance is our parents' problem, not ours. I agree. At the very least, I think children have a duty to be considerate and stay out of their parents' way when they are talking together. Shh. Sounds pretty boring. Everyone knows the phrase adults are filthy. But we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us considerable shock. George Anakia was now pretty much an adult, and I'd already been disillusioned with my dad, so the shock wasn't that big for us. Jessica seemed to be taking it hard. Apparently, she'd received a bigger blow than I'd thought. She always talks badly about her parents, but it looks like she hadn't changed at all on the inside. And now she's still a pure-hearted, delicate person who can't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does. Then her parents started raging about, going, money, money, inheritance, inheritance, my money, right in front of all the other parents and the children. No surprise she received such a shock from hearing that. Jessica-chan, please don't start hitting your mother and father. I won't ask you to understand them, but at least don't hate them. I get it, just leave me alone for a bit. 6 years ago, I would have kept taunting Jessica even after she got all dejected. But I guess I really have grown over the last 6 years. I realized it'd be better to leave Jessica alone right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be alone for a while. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left. Come to think of it, I wonder where Maria-chan went. Probably pouting in front of the portrait. Maria truly looked up to witches, and she'd expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letters would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity, thoroughly bombarding Maria with questions and refusing to accept her story. And for me, it wasn't hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. I didn't speak to Maria or Jessica. In the end, George Anarchy and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of falling rain in the dark night. I wonder what's happening with that typhoon. Maybe there's something about it on the news? George Anarchy started walking over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. Without going over to the television, I loitered around the window. The wind hasn't picked up that much here, but I wonder if it's horrible over the sea. I did hear about a severe storm warning on the weather report. Ah, Kirie-san. I take it those big talks between the adults are going smoothly, yeah? I seemed to catch the sarcasm. Kirie-san shrugged. Wonder if that stomachache of a discussion will continue all night. Not going to be fun. Well then, please enjoy playing vultures to grandfather's property as much as you'd like. I feel sick. I'll agree with you on that. If I could just slip away like you, I'd do it. Fortunately, I can't. Even if I'm not allowed to speak. These spouses have it pretty rough too. Kirie-san took a deep breath, smiling bitterly. That's right. Probably wouldn't let Kirie-san speak since she only married into the family. Still, as Dad's partner, she's had no choice but to stay by his side and support him. She probably had to bear the full brunt of this mental pressure much more than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I'd spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being. So how does it look? Are they still stuck on the topic of the mysterious witch Beatrice? More or less. Those four siblings are always piling up secret agreements when they come together to discuss the division of grandfather's inheritance. They're saying that some unknown fifth person has appeared and is trying to make things even more complicated. There's no way that'll make for a peaceful conversation. Just when you think they're snarling at each other, they'll set up a common front. Natsune-san is not the only one getting headaches. On one hand, they all want a bigger portion than the other siblings, so they're all rivals. But on the other hand, they don't want 1 yen to be snatched up by anyone other than the siblings. They're also all allies. I hadn't been told the details, but the siblings were apparently discussing how to protect their shares under various situations, setting up ceasefire agreements and rules to prevent anyone from getting an unfair advantage, even preparing to resort to legal action if absolutely necessary. That they would go this far to preserve their shares was so beyond disgusting that you just had to acknowledge their resilience. So basically, Beatrice is like an assassin sent by grandfather. Probably wanted to scare the hell out of his children for talking about the inheritance without him. Yeah. Who's this Beatrice, I wonder? If everything she claims is true, then she's a mystery figure that no one knew about until today. And she also knows about grandfather's hidden gold. On top of that, she was even entrusted with the head's ring. She must truly have been trusted by him. Well, obviously, I don't think she's a witch riding around on a broom. There's no doubt she's the mysterious person who's earned the right to be called a witch. The Maria-chan would go into more detail about that. Everyone's been smothering her, even though she's just a little girl. It really scared her, and some of the things I might have asked now can't be asked. I wonder if those people have ever even read The North Wind and the Sun. What we do know is that Maria received a letter from a person who took the name Beatrice. She sure is shy for a mystery person, entrusting Maria with a letter and hiding away even now, when she could have just appeared and talked to us directly. Huh. Hey, Battler-kun, do you really think a person called Beatrice actually exists? Who knows? Doesn't it really seem like a false name? Like she's grandfather's representative, so she was given permission to take the name of the witch from his delusions? No, that's not what I mean. Right now, there's a total of 18 people here on Roken. Do you think there's a 19th person? Are there really a full 18 people on this island right now? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers, and it really did come to that many. Yes, Eris, the art style is a matter of some variation. There's like 3 different styles of art for this game. This particular style has, I would argue, the best graphics, but the ladies are very generously endowed, which is the one downside of it. After this chapter, we might be swapping art styles. I have to look into a particular mod, but I can get in on that later as we get to the end of the chapter. Do I think that a 19th person exists? What exactly do you mean? What I said. The person who lent Maria that umbrella supposedly wasn't one of us 18. So isn't it natural to assume that a 19th person exists and that this person lent Maria the umbrella? Well, yeah, it sure looks that way. And where exactly is this person now? At the very least, she must have been on the island when it started raining. Ever since that time, the weather has grown progressively worse, so taking a boat out would be pretty much impossible. In that case, that person must still be on the island, hiding from the rain somewhere, without any of us spotting her. True, we've all been randomly prowling around all over the mansion and the guest house, but no one has bumped into a 19th person. But this island is huge. There might be other places to take shelter from the rain other than the mansion and the guest house. About this time, I began to realize what direction Kirie-san's suspicions were taking us in. Kirie-san was denying that a 19th person existed. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, she thought someone we knew well was tricking us. Beatrice is who she claimed she would surely be the most honored of guests. Most honored of confidants trusted by grandfather. There's no way grandfather would give that kind of person a warm reception. She would surely have been ushered into the mansion. However, we haven't seen anyone like that. Wait a sec. Isn't this line of reasoning a bit too hasty? Sure, no one spotted this person, but that doesn't mean you can deny the possibility that a 19th person exists, right? Maybe, for some reason, they landed on the island stealthily. Been hiding ever since. It's what they call a devil's proof. It's easy to prove that something exists. As Beatrice appears in front of us, all it says hi, then it's settled. It's impossible to prove that there's no 19th person. Yes, Battler-kun, your way of reasoning isn't bad. In our current situation, there isn't enough information to either accept or deny that a 19th person exists. If you spin the chessboard around and think that way, we can deny the existence of a 19th person with near certainty. Chessboard around was one of Kirie-san's favorite phrases. I've been influenced by those words and use them myself from time to time. You get stuck trying to find a move in chess or shogi, then by spinning the board around and looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you You can often see a strategy that'll give you the upper hand. It means turning things around and putting yourself in your opponent's shoes. See, let's say the 19th person called Beatrice actually exists. That person must have managed, without being seen by anyone, to stealthily arrive on this island and remain hidden ever since. Maybe they've had some reason, okay? In that case, why did they go to all the trouble of appearing before Maria and handing her the letter? It really was a contradiction. If they had some reason of hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time. But even so, they had appeared openly in front of Maria. Then, wait, Maria said it herself, that the witch made her a messenger. Maybe that's because Maria was the youngest and looked obedient. Why would they need a messenger? If they just wanted a letter delivered to the family conference, they could have mailed it. If they mailed it to each of the 4 siblings, no one would be able to ignore it. There was no need for this person to carry it themselves and secretly deliver it by hand. Yeah, does sound pretty. Sorry, I missed a line. Yeah, that does sound pretty weird. In the first place, if Beatrice existed and wanted to make her presence known to everyone, she could have just openly presented herself to all of us. Despite that, she chose the vague method of appearing through a little girl called Maria-chan. Only gave us a vague impression of who she was. Contradiction. Let's go a little deeper, shall we? She appeared in front of Maria, trying to give us the impression that a 19th person existed, and yet she still hasn't appeared for us and is hiding somewhere at this very moment. What about those contradictions? You've got to keep these things in mind when you spin the chessboard around. In short, if a person wants to leave us with the impression that Beatrice exists as the 19th, what might their goal be? If this person wanted to hide, they wouldn't have made their presence known. If they wanted to show themselves, they wouldn't have used the roundabout approach of entrusting someone with a letter. Which means, it's simple. Beatrice is one of the 18 people. That's why they want to create the illusion that there are more than 18 people. The 19th person was spectacularly. If someone were to profit from this, it wouldn't be some 19th person in hiding. It would be one of the original 18. Of course, this reasoning is full of holes. If you turn over even a few of its premises, it'll simply fall apart. I'm almost completely certain it's correct. This is starting to feel pretty creepy. Someone lent Maria the umbrella and handed her the letter. Supposedly, none of the 18 did this. Yet Beatrice was hidden among those 18. What was this person planning, hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice? I mean, honestly, if I were in Battler's shoes, I would assume that the 19th person was hiding themselves with the gold. Wherever that is, assuming the gold's on the island. Maybe they needed to be on the island to get the gold. Like, that would be my gut instinct, would be that the gold must be on the island then, because if I were Beatrice, I'd want to go collect my inheritance, so to speak, from this deal, and I would pick up the gold while I was there. I don't know. Wait, give me a sec. I suspected it might have been Maria-chan play acting, but the contents of the message were extremely complicated, and it's hard to imagine Maria-chan writing that herself. However, I can't deny the possibility that Maria-chan is working together with someone. Wait a sec. Maria's a 9-year-old kid, right? What could she possibly be planning, and with whom? And what about her straightforward, overly honest, obedient nature? Yes, I also understand what kind of person Maria-chan is, but that's exactly why I think it's possible. That girl's a dreamer who can't help but look up to and blindly accept the existence of witches. So if a person appeared in front of her and claimed to be the witch Beatrice, Maria-chan would happily swallow it up, I think. So you're saying that if someone disguised themselves by wearing that fancy dress from the portrait, it wouldn't be that hard? I mean, admittedly, not if they were in the rain. Of course, with that reasoning, all of us women become the primary suspects. That's sexist. Anyway, who did Maria-chan encounter? Learning the details of that question would be the best key to solving this riddle. But this key has been firmly locked away inside Maria-chan's heart. Everyone denied the existence of the witch without listening to her, barraging her too much with questions about who Beatrice actually was. probably won't open our hearts to the adults now. Which is why you're telling Battler to try to get Battler to figure it out. In the dim hall, in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing. Oof. No one believes I met Beatrice. Oof. Even though I showed them the letter Beatrice gave, they still don't believe. I'm not gonna do all of the crying noises. I will die. Maria Chan's holding the key. Key to whether Beatrice is one of the 18 people or a 19th person. Maria's stubborn, right? That girl gets angry. It's pretty hard to make her feel better. Battler-kun, I think a kid like you would be better at cheering her up than an adult like me. After she's feeling better, try asking. I know you don't care about all this back and forth about the inheritance, but don't you find this Western Mansion mystery situation exciting? Who in the world is this person who gave Maria Chan the letter? Makes your intellectual curiosity ache. You're actually pretty tough, considering you're still excited after being dragged through that endless money talk. Adults can be pretty amazing. I shrugged, exasperated. Honestly, Kyrie is probably thinking, well, if I can pin down who the 18th person is, we can blackmail them and make sure we get our inheritance, which is why I can just step away and make this move. But I did notice something. Kyrie noticed how dejected I was after overhearing our parents' turbulent discussion. Probably trying to clear the air. I think she's self-serving. But, you know. It'd be twofold. At the very least, I'd recovered enough to voice my complaints. She wasn't my real mother, so I'd never felt like calling her mom. But it did make me think she's a real adult. Hey, Brett, so this is where you were. Great, you really took your time fixing your makeup, didn't you? I think I'll make a habit of going out to touch up my makeup, too. Sorry. Women's makeup takes a lot of time. So, how has the discussion been without me? I'm sure everything was all peaceful and harmonious. Kyrie-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow. We decided to take a break to cool our heads a little. Looks like we'll be at it all night. Makes me want to cry. The way of talking hadn't changed. He couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his energetic self. Still, that rain's just awful. I really don't want to go back to the guest house. Honestly, the guest house would be where I would assume Beatrice is. Everyone's left it. Anyway. Looks like Natsune-san set things up so that we could spend the night here in the mansion. What do we do? You don't need to decide until you're done, right? Run so low on energy that you can't return to our room, then we can take them up on their offer. You're right. You think about it later. What about you, Battler? I stayed, I'd just get in the way. I'll be nice and go back over there. I see. Will you go back soon? I don't know. It'd be lonely to head back by myself. I'll gather all the kids and we'll head out. Okay. You go do that. Also, Battler, you won't be going to sleep that easily tonight, right? Yeah, I'll probably be up talking with the cousins. Sounds like we'll be up all night. Is there a problem with that? I see. You're still awake when the adults' discussion is over. I want to have a little talk as a family. What? That doesn't sound like you. Apparently Kyrie-san was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked him in a small voice. I thought Kyrie-san didn't have a clue what Dad meant either. I also want to talk to you about it, Kyrie. I'll tell you later, so don't ask now. Please. I don't know anyone who neglects the concept of family as much as this old bastard. Now he's saying we're gonna have a talk as a family? Kyrie-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed. Look so terrified. No one who should be terrified. After all. At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant. Even though putting on airs of importance wasn't much like my dad. Is he gonna, like, give the full story of why he's in financial issues? I thought Kyrie already figured that one out. You're freaking me out, Dad. Everyone in our family's gathered here now, right? Don't make a big deal out of it and spit it out. Night. I will probably be killed. What? There was a huge crash of thunder. Must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself and which always wore a taunting expression, was strangely frail in a way I couldn't really explain. He was so worn out that he looked like a different person. What? What are you talking about? That doesn't sound like you. I agree. What happened? He looks so timid all of a sudden. Not like you. Gotta go fix my makeup too. Don't follow me. Dad turned away weakly. That only Kyrie and I were left, still wide-eyed. What did he say? Tonight he'll be killed? You don't think that mysterious letter really scared him, do you? He's been watching too many serial murder mystery movies. Kyrie-san didn't answer my light-hearted words and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back. Rattler-kun, when you told Rudolph-san to spill the beans right away, he left without telling us anything. Even though he said he had something to say to both of us, he didn't answer you. Why? Spin the chessboard around. What do you see? Well, when he said he wanted to talk but then couldn't, that's a contradiction. What, can you see something by looking from Dad's perspective? Yes, I can see something. He wants to talk about something. However, he doesn't have the courage to bring it up. It actually means chase after me, talk to me, and ask me about it yourself. By saying don't follow me, he actually means the opposite. It actually means follow me and force me to answer. Seriously, what a spoiled brat. What? Can you really call that reasoning? That's ridiculous. Can great private police detectives deduce emotions and feelings between men and women? They can't, right? Figuring out the feelings of the opposite sex is even more advanced art than exposing the tricks in difficult crime cases. If you ask me, romance novels have much deeper mysteries than masterpiece mystery novels. I see. Is that how it is? Stand alongside that spoiled brat. He normally loves to bluff, but tonight he's completely tired out from that heated discussion. Probably wants someone to lean on at the moment. And responding to that need is the role of his partner. Sounds passionate. I'll leave that old bastard in your hands. Yes, leave it to me. Called out to Kyrie-san's departing back. Huh? What? I wanted to say thanks. Thanks to you, my gloomy moods cleared up a lot. That's good. Communication is important. Answering with a wink, Kyrie-san followed after Dad. I know that they said that Battler is not Kyrie's biological kid, but they both have crosses on their outfit, and everyone in the Shinomiya family has the wing, so it only seems right that that's a hint that they actually are related. I have my thoughts. I have my theories. Natsume could be found in a dimly lit hallway. Now and then the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on her expression. She looked completely worn out. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsume's mind. Beatrice had proclaimed that in addition to the gold, all of the inheritance and property of the Ushirimiya family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Kraus, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no chance to inherit headship. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. Obvious that they would accept it. There's no need to play some clumsy detective game. Natsume knew that the so-called 19th person Beatrice could. Naturally, Beatrice was nothing more than a fictional character used to pass a message that Kinzo had written himself. As proof, Kinzo had remained stubbornly neutral as to that letter's authenticity, completely ignoring these reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to, that he had given up the head's ring. In short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own. Most likely, one of the servants had given him the letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait aired. Someone, probably Shannon, would be made to wear it and deliver the letter in the umbrella. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, that alone was proof that Kinzo was behind all this. In that case, it was the same as Kinzo trying to butt in on the siblings' private discussion. And Kinzo, by announcing that he'd give everything to the person who could solve the riddle, could weaken Kraus's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had eavesdropped on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day, so he had known how Kraus had had staved off the attack by the other three. To make the scales of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out this strange letter, which benefited Krause's rivals. He was trying to push this crazy theory so that Rosa, who had a weak position among the siblings because of her age, could join with Eva and Rudolph. Then, with a 3-to-1 advantage, he'd be able to overwhelm Krause yet again, make their ridiculous theories get accepted by force. And by doing that, he gave them the power to resettle what had once been a nearly decided conflict. They had now started repeatedly pressing Krause to pay them a large amount of money. Using the condition that all of the siblings would guarantee Krause's position as successor, talk about advanced payments was being brought up again, despite having been rejected once. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Ushiromiya family's store of wealth was vast. That store of wealth alone was more than enough. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever, along with Kinto's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Therefore, even if they weren't that interested in the gold itself, Kinzo had managed to instill the lifelong fear that, the off chance someone found the gold, that person would be granted the headship. This kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor, Krause. The other siblings had been told by Kinzo about something that only Krause could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsui, as Krause's only ally in his painful position and as his wife, wanted to fight alongside him. She kept trying to explain to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce, and no need for him to compromise. Krause had always told Natsui. He had told all the siblings. He always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than an illusion created by Kinzo. Therefore, Natsui had believed it as his wife, and had supported her husband on that foundation. So, Natsui's words didn't reach Krause. Even though Natsui had fought so hard and had lent all of her strength, he continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other three siblings. Natsui sadly and weakly wondered why she could not be of use to him, then started getting angry. It happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool their heads. Natsui had flared up against Krause. Enraged, she asked why she could not be useful. He had then told her that he wanted to talk about something, invited her into a room that she was normally not allowed to enter. That room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock. Just looking at it had given her an uncomfortable feeling. There's no need for you to worry about anything said by those three, or even the suspicious person who calls herself Beatrice. After all, the gold is just a ruse created by Father. There's no way something like that could be found. Your position as a successor is a solid fact. What are you afraid of? Krause removed the padlock on the door, then motioned for Natsui to enter. Enter. What is this? There's something I want you to see. I've never shown you this before. Natsui timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. It's pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Krause entered behind her, pushing her in. He closed the door before turning on the lights. When he closed the door before turning on the lights, the two were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Krause locking the door rang through the dark. What are you doing? The lights. Turning them on now. Wait. Just as he said, when Krause pushed the switch on the wall, a flickering light turned on and lit up the room. That is... Natsui had her breath taken away. The room had no windows, and at a glance it appeared to be empty. In the living room, a small round table had been set, and the lights brightened only that table, as if it were the leading part in a play. Isn't it? On top of the table, a red tablecloth of elaborate design had been set out, covered with dust. On top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been put down. But something took Natsui's breath away. Gold ingot of incredible purity. Without this, no one would have believed in the light of gold. Ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified glint. It is not a proper ingot. I don't even know whether it was cast inside or outside the country. A high-level skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots. In order to verify that purity, it was standard to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it imprinted in gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry. Here. There's nothing to be afraid of. Just a bar of gold. Natsui, following Cross's words, smoothly approached the ingot. Right there. Cross pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsui concentrated on that section. Right thereon was the thin imprint of the winged eagle crest. Natsui's breath was taken away once again. That's right. This is the legendary ingot that Father said he received from the witch, that the president of Marusu witnessed and was allowed to select at random to take back with him. That gained the trust of the fixtures in the business world. I had to use all possible means to find it. I found it before the other siblings. How could, then, Legends of Father's gold is... It actually exists. The gold that Ushiromiya Kinzo received from Beatrice actually exists. Possible. So it really does exist. Natsui was shocked. Cross had always said that Kinzo's gold was just a fabrication, so she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. As he held definite proof, he had been more certain than any other of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. Because of this, Krause was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold and fail to find it, costing him everything. To Natsui, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought that, as Krause's wife, she should be his closest confidant, which was why she had selflessly supported him. And yet, he had hid this fact from her today. Why? Have I been so undeserving of your trust? That has never been my intention. There was simply no need to tell you. Is that all a wife means to you? Calm down. Becoming passionate easily is one of your bad habits. You're the one who's making me like that, aren't you? I've been supporting you as a wife ever since I married into this family. For your sake, I threw away the family I was born into, and I've been offering up my heart and my body to serve you. In return, this is what I get? How could you? Ross grimaced and looked annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsui, even if he didn't say it aloud. It doesn't look like I'll be of any use to you anymore. That's fine. I can resolve the troubles with the siblings myself. I don't need your help. It's wrong. This is the Ushiromiya family's problem. It's true that I am not permitted to wear the family crest on my body, but I am still your wife. Even so, are you saying I'm not capable of helping you? Are you? I especially wouldn't want to risk getting you involved. It would probably make your headaches even worse than they are now. Take a rest for today. Siblings will deal with siblings' problems. It has nothing to do with you. That's all. Hey, Half Narrow, how's it going? Dull headache tormented Natsui. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what scent she burned, it wouldn't heal. In fact, simply wandering alone through the dark corridors and listening to the sound of the rain seemed to be a better cure. Maybe Natsui, but I was never Ushiromiya Natsui. I have been despised and treated like a borrowed womb, insulted when I couldn't even fill that role. Even so, I have tried to properly perform my duties in life, but now, even my husband has rejected me. I've done my best raising my daughter, as if it were the last job left to me. Oof, Half Narrow, good luck with the last paper. However, I've had no release for my anger and sadness, and they've caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too. Because I've been excessively strict in Jessica's education, she dislikes me thoroughly. She despises me for having no interest in anything but grades. There's no longer anything I can do for the Ushiromiya family. No, that's no good. Despite it all, I must help my husband and beat back the schemes of the other greedy siblings. Family head won't be around much longer. Eventually, Cross will succeed the head. The next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor, whom everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Ushinomiya family. In days to come, that greedy Ushinomiya Eva will probably be plotting to find some fault with the main family. If it all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession, with George set up in her place. It is regrettable, but George is a man, and even more, has matured as a person. Compared to Jessica, who is right in the middle of her rebellious period and whose grades are slightly below average, it can be seen as at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I will want to find her an excellent husband worthy of the excellent person she will become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and just stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows. Natsui trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own. Natsui thought back to the days when she'd had no choice but to marry into a family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgotten it, and actively attended to the life she'd been given as Ushinomiya Natsui. Doing so, she had built up a new life. But just now, it felt like all of that had been casually rejected. How should I think as I live my life? I do not know. Natsui helplessly rested her head against the glass of the window. The glass, which was cool thanks to the raindrops beating against it, felt somehow refreshing. Even though it should have been emotionless, right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsui. At that point, even if someone had appeared, Natsui didn't intend to pay any attention to them. But she did pay attention. It was her beloved daughter. Oh, it's you, Mom. What the heck are you doing in a place like this? I thought you were a ghost. It's like always, her words were rough and not all like a girl's. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose in Natsui's throat. However, their strength gave out, and they didn't escape her lips. Jessica, forgive me, but my headache is awful. Please leave me be. I see. Jessica was seeing her mother in a position of feebleness for the first time, so she was considerably disconcerted. Till now, she'd been filled with contempt for all of the parents, including her mother. But now those feelings had completely swept away. Mother's utterly exhausted face had wiped them all out. In its place, the words George had told her floated back up in her mind. Our parents are doing their best in their own way. And because their families are counting on them, they can't afford to keep everything pleasant. Have to have the heavy responsibility to fight. Maybe her mother had been standing around in this dimly lit hallway because no one had tried to understand that part of her. Jessica hated her mother, though she had no intention of speaking kindly to Natsui just because she was looking frail. So when she attempted to speak kindly to her mother anyway, she had to clench her fists and gather up the words from deep in her heart. It sounds like you really got your hands full with that meeting thing. It has nothing to do with you. Please go somewhere else. Headache bad? Should I go get some medicine? Don't have to trouble yourself. Please, leave me alone. Natsui wasn't being cold. She just wanted her daughter to go far away so that she wouldn't have to bump against Natsui's own short temper. There was no chance that Jessica would realize this. Okay. Jessica hung her head, looking sad. Seeing that expression, Natsui recognized the kindness that Jessica was trying to muster. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind feelings. Then I'll leave. I'll be with the other cousins so I don't get in the way of the adults. See you later. Wait there. I called Jessica, who was trying to leave, and looked to a stop. What? Thank you for being so considerate. It isn't good of me to go to sleep and leave you alone. Talk like that, you'll bring bad luck. Made you worried. But I'm okay now. I'll go. If I let my daughter see me in this feeble any longer, I'll only make her feel more uneasy. With that thought in mind, Natsui left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. This time, Jessica called out to her mother's back. Natsui stopped to turn around, asking what business Jessica had with her. Excuse me, give me a sec. Trying to find a break to take a drink is hard. Jessica herself didn't know why she'd stopped her mother. For a while, she smiled wryly, muttered herself as she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around her pocket when her hand touched something and she took it out. Hey Mom. I was given a charm today. What was it? A charm against magic? I'm pretty sure that you were supposed to hang it from your doorknob, I think. I forget. There's no point in me having it, so I'll let you take it. It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her on the beach. Okay, so Jessica's gonna get axe murdered, but her mom's gonna be okay. Although she had heard of its various effects from Maria, Jessica's mind had gone blank, and she was just barely able to say even that much. Jessica, thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept it anyway, immediately drew back the hand she had stuck out, grasping the charm. So when Natsui came back to take it, she was extremely shocked. What is this? Some kind of prize toy? Well, let's think it's something like that. I guess you wouldn't really expect a charm that looks like a toy to do anything. But her mother took the charm from where she grasped it. Thank you. Take good care of it. Sometime soon, in exchange, why don't I give you a charm that was important to me when I was a child? It's not like that's why I gave it to you, but, well, if you really say so. Then I will rest for now. My headache is awful. Try not to stay up too late. Sure. Natsui put the charm in her pocket and turned away, then disappeared into the dark hall. Yeah, one of those two is doomed, and I think I know which one. Just the logic of plot. Seems the weather will be like this all day tomorrow after all. Dang, this makes good weather. I had earlier feel like it was a lie. George, Anarchy, and I were killing time in front of the parlor television. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she'd calmed down a little since we'd last seen her. Is Maria still in front of the portrait? Nope. She just came back, and she's sleeping over there on the sofa. It's getting pretty late for her, after all. At the clock, I saw it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were planning to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room. Well, my mom did have a room prepared for us in the mansion. What'll we do? I'd rather head back to the guest house. Going by what we saw of our parents, I think it'd be better if we weren't in the mansion. I agree. Feels like they're telling us kids to mind our own business to stay out of the way. Be good little boys and girls and do that. We were talking about this, Aunt Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria. Aunt Rosa, if you're looking for Maria, she's over there on the sofa. Thank you. My, she's out cold. Must move her to a bed. If you'd like, I'll carry her over to a bed. Thanks, that would be wonderful. Are you all heading back to the guest house? Or are you going to stay in the room Natsui-ne-san prepared here? We were just talking about that. We just decided to head over to the guest house. I see. And could I ask you to take Maria with you? I feel much more reassured if she stays with all of you cousins. Behind those words, she seemed to be concealing some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings. Leave it to us, Aunt Rosa. After all, we do have an expert at comforting Maria with us. Are you talking about me? I couldn't do it myself. We'll need everyone together. That's right. Battler, weren't you the one who hit it off with Maria when you were messing around earlier? As he said this, Aunt Rosa smiled, looking truly happy. Thank you, everyone. Looks like our meeting will last until very late. Well, I'm sorry to burden you like this. I'll be counting on you all to take care of Maria. Hey, Maria, are you sound asleep? We're going back to the guest house. Maria muttered something indistinct, rolled over, and fell back to sleep. Looked like she was sleeping deep. She's really out cold. I'd hate to wake her. Right, I'll carry her. Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. I lifted her up and put her on George Anaki's back. It was raining hard outside, and Anaki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. Looks like Aunt Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Cross's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return. Now that's a problem. I'll have to go back now. Is everyone returning to the guest house? After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shan-chan stepped out. It was growing very dark, so allow me to guide you. That would be great, Shan-chan. George-kun is going to carry Maria there. Could you hold an umbrella for him? Yes, certainly. Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden. Aniki, is she too heavy? Want me to carry her? It's okay. I can at least carry Maria-chan. Truly grateful. Please take care of Maria. Sure, you got it. Then I guess this is good night, Aunt Rosa. And I'll see them over there and return here. Yes, please. Let Rosa watch us leave. Maria? Sorry for everything. Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor any of the kids, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house. If only I'd applied for the position of Maria carrier, then I would have gotten a chance to have Shannon-chan's huge boobs rubbed all over my arm. But that's not why I did it. It's a misunderstanding. I thought that if I didn't walk like this, George-sama would get all wet. Come on, quit babbling and go in. After being urged on by Jessica, we folded up our umbrellas and went into the guest house. Has anyone gotten their clothes wet? I can bring some towels if you want. You don't need to worry about us that much. Thanks, Shannon-chan. Oh, that's right. We were planning to play cards or something. Would you care to join us for a bit? Huh? We had the night shift on today's schedule. I believe we had a special schedule during the family conference. Also, I think a few alterations have been made, so I'll go and check. Wait, if you have to go all the way back to the mansion to find out, don't force yourself. Well, that's alright. I can find out from the servants' room in the guest house. Please excuse me for a short while. Shan-chan gave a quick bow and went to the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed to the cousin room and decided to put Maria to bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. For now, we get some soft drinks out of the room's refrigerator and drink those while playing cards or something. Oh, Kanon-kun? And you're here too, Genji-sama. What's happened with tonight's shift? Kurasama has given an order. He made some sizable changes to the shift schedule. Indeed, Yoda-san now has the night shift at the mansion. Shannon and Kanon have the night shift in the guest house. Kumasawa-san and I have been ordered to sleep in the guest house. Just now, a phone call came saying that once you arrived, you were also to remain here for the rest of the night. Huh? That certainly is a sizable change. The shift at the guest house and the mansion have completely reversed, haven't they? Originally, Shannon and Kanon had been assigned the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all of the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience entertaining. Kumasawa should have been sleeping at the guest house. Genji should have been sleeping at the mansion. However, it seemed that Kraus had suddenly ordered that schedule be modified. Shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed. Genji was spending the night at the guest house. Probably because of Beatrice-sama's letter. Why probably? After such a mysterious letter appeared, it's only natural that Kraus-sama would suspect one of us. We served directly under the master, so Kraus-sama tried as best he could to keep us far away from the family conference. Genji, Shannon, and Kanon were all permitted to wear the Uchinomiya family crest, the one-winged eagle. It's the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were looking for the Uchinomiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, then Kraus could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, Kraus and the others often viewed these servants as Kinzo's underlings and shunned them. And in fact, Kinzo seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. The sudden shift change was probably a clear expression of the sense of mistrust that it had caused. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance came up. On top of that, the mysterious letter had claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Lol, what? What are you lolling at? Oh, yeah. Yeah, just a bit half narrow. Yeah. Um, Krauts definitely wanted to keep Kinza's loyal subjects away from the table of such delicate and important conversation. Krauts does remind me of sauerkraut a little. For some reason, I think of pretzels more. Pretzels and beer. I'll go to a beer garden now. Anyway, if you would excuse me, I will go rest. If anything happens, call me immediately. Our guest tonight is a special case after all. Oh boy. Yes, certainly, Genji-sama. Genji nodded back and went behind a screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension. Yeah, the German name is what does it. Once he returned just now, were they the children? Yes. The other relatives are having a conference in the mansion. Looks like it would drag on for quite some time. We've got it easy. It's already this late, and there's this weather. The rest of the relatives will probably spend the night in their rooms in the mansion. Yes, probably. I'm only saying this because Genji-sama isn't around. I'm a little happy I was sent to the guest house, I guess. Oh? Why is that? Because you can stay away from Madame and Eva-sama, those bullies. Or do you have another reason? It's not as though I have another reason. I see. Then, let's do our best together with our night shift. Counting on you, Ne-san. Just now, I was asked to go to the children's room and play with them. Chan hung her head apologetically, gazing at Kennen uncertainly. Kennen didn't try to meet her eyes, and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister. Can't. You were assigned to the night shift. Besides which, it isn't necessary for furniture like us to respond to a new play. You understand, right? Yes, I do understand. Shannon's shoulders drooped slightly. She had already expected that Cannon, a stickler for rules, would say something like that. She still seemed a little discouraged. As Cannon flipped through a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon. That means the children will be waiting for you. You'll have to apologize and tell them you have the night shift, and we'll stay with them. Go and come back. Yes. I'll go apologize and then come back. Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change, flew out of the servant room after giving a quick bow. As he watched her go, Cannon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen. Cannon, I'll be here, so you can go too. Genji-sama. Shannon was the only one called. Not as though I was invited. That is only because you were not there at the time. If you had been, you would have been invited as well. Good to play as a child from time to time. No, such a thing is not necessary for me. Human children may have a need to play. We are furniture. That's so. Aya-san is also furniture. Even if she pretends to be a person, it will only hurt her later. I understand that, so I try not to get too close to people, that's all. Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and of hot water to make a powdered cocoa, serving some to Cannon as well. There's something about Shannon and Cannon that I can't put my finger on. Is that for real? I had no clue. Dumbass, you're too loud. Wake Maria up. Battler was so surprised they'd yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab, and he lowered his voice. Still, seriously, now that you mention it, that they really did have that kind of atmosphere, didn't they? Now I see. So George Anarchy is. George couldn't be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon came into the room, George suddenly said he'd forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back to get it. Shannon said she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house. Two of them departed together. Well, there's actually been signs of it for a while now. You know, questions about hobbies and favorite things. I always thought it was a bit much for a passing interest. And look what's happening now. Come to think of it, I get the feeling George Anaki's always been overly nice to Shannon-chan. Now I get it. Cocoa would be so good. I know there's probably some in the pantry, but I have no idea. According to the weather report, it looks like it'll be at its worst tonight. Also seems it'll last all day tomorrow, though it should get a little better. Really? Then maybe the boat won't arrive until the day after tomorrow. Hope that doesn't interfere with your work on Monday. Ha, I already knew the typhoon would be coming beforehand. Just in case, I made sure I didn't have any plans for Monday, so it's okay. I may not look it, but I really am the type who can plan ahead in his schedule. George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the calm appearance George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this abrupt contrast. It's no surprise you're so well prepared as someone who'll bring prosperity to his company someday. Well, making a company prosper is a really tough job. Money isn't the only thing that's important. I learned that well when studying under my father. Making a company prosper is like owning a castle, leading your subordinates. My dad really loves reading about great leaders during the warring periods of Japan, a hobby that's probably influenced by the fact that he shares Toyotomi Hideyoshi's name. Much of his philosophy on managing businesses comes from talking about them. You know, Takeda Shingen, who was feared as the leader of the strongest cavalry corps in the warring periods, started out with his troops in complete disarray, didn't have the kind of strong leadership necessary to utilize them well. That's true. A little unexpected. In order to unite his troops, Shingen showed his excellent leadership in many ways. Oh, did he really? For example, when a soldier succeeded well in battle, he would immediately honor them with a medal. Normally, that kind of thing was put off until after the war, and they were all awarded at once. He continued this diligently while on the field of battle, and immediately showing his appreciation for his troops' military exploits motivated them in an extremely significant fashion. Also, whenever one of his troops was brought down by an illness, he would be the first to rush up to them and care for them, and so on. Takeda Shingen wasn't just the man who led his strongest cavalry corps in the warring period. He was the person who cared the most for his troops throughout the era. And because he was that kind of person, all of his troops went along with him. The truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago. But whenever a discussion on his father led to this sort of topic, George would always glow and look like he was having a great time. So Shannon just smiled without interrupting, urging him to continue. Of course, in a capitalist world, money determines both your strength and the height of your fortifications. But you can't build up a castle or succeed in war by yourself. Such things can only be accomplished with the support of many subordinates by borrowing their strength. After understanding this, when I look at my father's back, I realize how immature I am. I can clearly see how much competition he had to overcome before building up all he has now. George-sama, you truly look up to your father. I'm jealous. Sorry, that's not how I meant it. Sorry, that's not how I meant it either. The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. She had been brought up in an orphanage owned by Kinzo called the Fukuin House. Under the guidance of Kinzo, their honorary director, the orphanage offered members who excelled a chance for on-the-job serving experience. Clearly, hid the gold at the orphanage. If their efforts met with Kinzo's approval, they'd be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Shinomiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for those who lived in the orphanage. Servants from the Fukuin house all took names with the character on them when they served, or while they served. So Shannon wasn't her real name. Same went for Cannon. All the members of the Fukuin house were orphans. I bet you that's the kanji for furniture. Just a hypothesis. At least, they were all people who had been separated from their parents under special circumstances. Because of this, the orphans had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seemed so natural for both of them when Cannon called Shannon his sister. While both Shannon and Cannon were working in the mansion today, there were several other servants possessing the on character in their names, such as Manon and Lennon, who often worked in a rotating schedule. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Umineko family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for 10 years, was a notable exception to this rule. Working as a servant for the Umineko family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That's why, even though the orphans realized what a harsh task working for the Umineko family was, they still hoped to be accepted. It's to be done with the furniture by Lennon. Oh, good lord. Maybe the fact that Shannon managed to continue working for 10 years wasn't because she had more willpower than the other servants. Maybe she'd gotten stuck working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say she wanted to quit. Kenzo couldn't even trust his own blood relatives. These excellent servants sent from the Fukuin house were the only ones he could rely on. Because of that, Kenzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest, as servants under his direct control, have them work close to him. You've been working here for almost 10 years now, right? You must have saved up a lot of money by now. I wonder. It's not like there's anything in particular I'd like to buy. After all, a few million yen isn't enough to live off for the rest of your life. The reason you've been working all this time was to hit some target sum? Yes, that's right. I have nowhere to go outside this mansion. I've been getting along well with Milady and the other young servants. Madam does scold me sometimes, but caring for those roses and cleaning the mansion is fun. Did you prune the rose? But that can't be your entire life, Shannon-chan. No. Sayo-chan. Shannon cast her eyes downward when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and fell silent. There's something I've learned as I continue to study even after becoming an adult and a fully fledged member of society. A human's life is not as monotonous or short as we thought when we were kids. All school-aged kids have certain fears they can't shake. They wonder whether they'll live for the rest of their lives like sleepy... They'll live the rest of their lives... My brain. They wonder whether they'll live the rest of their lives like sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day. Spending their time in a carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it's all over. However, life's only like that for underage students. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as students is nothing more than a blink of an eye. A period where they break through their shells of immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating, and boring world. The world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities and limitless terrors. So far, your life has been trapped inside the shell called Shannon. I think you're under the mistaken impression that your life will continue like this forever. Shannon couldn't deny those words. She'd been unable to harbor any clear doubts about her lifestyle. And she'd never had any hope or goals for changing herself. She'd lazily continued living the way she always had. If asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't have been able to nod. She may have been intentionally averting her eyes from the truth. Without George's admonishments, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her life slipped away bit by bit, neglected. George-sama, is it wrong for me to continue living this way? Yeah, it is. Oh, and by the way, didn't you break one of our rules just now? George immediately gave a strict answer, then broke off out in a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and she hung her head again, apparently embarrassed. Didn't you promise not to use Sama when the two of us are alone? I couldn't obey that as a promise. But if it was an order, I would have to obey it. Because I'm furniture. It's an order. Yes, certainly, George-san. As Shannon hung her head, her face bright red, said George's name again, this time following it with san. Yes, that's fine, Sayo-chan. George smiled at Sayo, to praise her small act of bravery. This short exchange alone made it clear how far back their relationship must have stretched. For a long while, the two talked as if the weather raging about them didn't even enter their thoughts. They talked about the many memories they'd built during their relationships that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to interrupt them. This could sully neither the roses nor the time they spent blushing at each other. Ow! That's right. I have something I wanted to show you. What could it be? George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Watching him, Shannon seemed to guess something. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something got caught in the depths of his pocket. Just like the stuttering George, it took a little while to get it out. Oh no. Very small box. Oh no! Small box covered in a deep blue velvet. Something horrible is going to happen to you two. That particular shape was enough to tell anyone what was resting inside. Shannon had prepared her heart somewhat, certain beforehand that this was what he'd be planning. Even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took something out, and held it out for Shannon to take. I want you to take this. I, couldn't accept something so valuable. Can't take it? No, I'm unworthy of such a thing. Sayo, this isn't a request. An order. Take this ring, okay? It's an order. I can't disobey. Yeah, that's right. Well done. What? Okay. Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object, meant since ancient times to be offered to a special woman under special circumstances. Therefore, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Shannon's, no, Sayo's own will. So from here on, I'm not ordering you anymore. Sayo, I want you to give me your answer by tomorrow, without using words. Do you understand? Or how should I won't order you any further, so this isn't an order. But a ring is something you put on your finger after all. If you like it, you can just put it on any finger you choose. Shannon had only pretended not to know. She already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life. Look how late it's gotten. Let's call it a day. George turned away from Shannon, acting just a bit bluntly. He'll probably order you to wear it on your left hand. You might be timid and dependent enough to actually obey that kind of order. But I want it, at least this last step, to be done of your own will, Sayo. Understand? Yes. So, that's my order. I want you to think about it well tonight and show me your... Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their many days spent together. This moment certainly hadn't come as a surprise to Shannon. We should be getting back to the guest house soon. If we take any longer, we'll make everyone worry about us. Oh, I'm sorry, I just remembered something I had to do at the mansion. So, I have to go back to the mansion. At a time like this? Is that true? George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He definitely saw through Shannon's lie. However, he saw how she felt. He could sort of understand that she might be so embarrassed that she'd want to be alone. So, because George realized the meaning behind Shannon's lie, he accepted it. Oh boy. Horror story rules mean something horrible is gonna happen to those two.